Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. In this video I'm going to show you how to install a backup camera on your E46. So this car we just installed an eonon, the newest one that came out, the GA7150A. I'll have a review on that as well. It'll be posted pretty soon. I'm going to review that compared against the previous two generation units to the 7150, which is the unit right before the 7150A, as well as the one right before that. So stay tuned for that, so that way you guys can see all the differences. So anyways, let's go and start with the backup camera. Here it is. This is included with the radio, so you can buy it off of the eonon website if you need it. There's a couple of options that you can get for a backup camera for your E46. This one is the cheapest one and the one that you can just bolt in anywhere over here. But they also have the ones that you can hook up into your license plate light. So you just take this light off, put that camera that's built into the light, install that, and the wiring and all that is going to be very similar to the one that I show you today. We're going to start off by taking off this interior liner for the trunk. It's just held in with all these tabs. So there's 10 tabs. We're going to take all these tabs off. You're also going to have to remove the emergency toolkit, and then you can drop this whole carpet piece. So once you have all the little tabs out, the only thing that's going to be holding the carpet on is this emergency toolkit. To remove the emergency toolkit, you just have to remove the two Phillips screws. If you can't see them, because they're covered with carpet. Just follow the tabs, and right in the center of the tab you'll see it. Then just unscrew it. Lift up, turn that, bam. This you just turn and it pops right out. Now to remove this emergency handle, all you have to do is slide it to the front. It'll slide down. Once you have that, you want to push this tab in so you can pull out this wire. So push this tab in. Alright, so now we're going to pull off the trunk release handle. Is held in with 4 T20 bolts. So just get like a T20 screwdriver and pull them off. Pull that right off. Right, now with the piece off, let's go ahead and start disassembling the piece so we can figure out a way to get these wires through and mount the camera as well. Alright, so now with the notch, we should be able to run the wire through here, go straight into the trunk from the existing hole for this. We'll be able to pass this wire all the way through as well, and just follow this wire into the trunk. Now we have the choice of mounting wherever we choose to mount this. So I'm going to mount it right over this hole right here, and be sure not to cover it so you can still fasten this handle back onto the trunk. But if you need to, you can always remove this camera. It's just going to be held in with 2 Phillips screws that they provided us with. So they're just like this. They're self-tapping screws. So we're just going to go ahead and tap it in. Don't worry about the angle of this. You can adjust it like you can see here. And then just tighten the hex bolt once you have it adjusted. But we'll do the adjustments at the very end once we have everything else hooked up. Alright, so I got a very small drill bit. And I went ahead and pre-drilled where the holes would be. So I just measured this, put it on there, marked it, and then pre-drilled them. Now I can secure it with the Phillips screws. Now we just have to route this wire, get it through the groove. What you could do is if you want to fill the rest of the groove up with epoxy, that would work out perfect. That way you don't have to worry about the wire coming loose or any water leaking in. But we have a weather strip that's gonna go back in, so it should prevent any water from leaking in anyways. But just to be on the safe side, I would put some epoxy on there. Alright, so now we have to route the wire for the camera right through that hole that's inside that trunk lining. There should already be a wire coming out from it, and that's to actually hook up the connector for the handle and the license plate lights. So let's go ahead and feed this wire through. Push the other one. Push that one. I don't see it. Now with that all the way through, don't forget to hook up the connector for the trunk handle. So we're having an issue with it hitting the license plate, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna loosen up these screws and move it up. And then make sure the wire for the camera is also going through the groove that we cut. Now we can start securing the trunk handle back to the trunk. Make sure you don't over tighten these bolts because the trunk handle, the plastic itself is actually pretty brittle, and it's very easy to actually break those tabs that attach to the trunk. Now that we have the wire through the trunk handle's mounted. There is a gap here, and that's because this handle is already warped before we even started working on it. So that's why there's a little gap, but yours should not have any gaps. It should fit perfect. And then the camera does seem to be pointed down a little too low, but once we have it hooked up, we'll be able to check that out. And if we need to, we can take out the screws and turn it, do whatever we need to do to make it better. And then another issue that I do see, it does cover part of the license plate. And if you do need to remove the license plate, you might have to move this around in order to get it off. You might not have to, but just in case, be wary of that. So there's a few issues with that. I highly recommend getting the one that plugs into the license plate. You could check it out on eBay. Just type in E46 rear view camera license plate holder or license plate bulb, and that'll give you one that plugs right in there. And those still need to be modified to make them to fit, but they do look better and they have less problems with the whole license plate being covered and all that. So now, this is another wire that was included with the kit. This is to actually power up the whole camera. So we're gonna wire this into the reverse lights. Main reason we're gonna do that is so that way the camera only gets power when the reverse lights turn on, and the reverse lights only turn on when you put the car in reverse. So you hook up that red cable. So you have positive, negative. Your best way to do this is to just splice it into the reverse light. So you can run the wire through the trunk, zip tie it, do whatever you need to do, and then here are the reverse lights right here. There's the brown for the ground, so the black goes to the brown, the red goes to the yellow blue. Alright, so now we're gonna have to remove this rubber boot from here and here, and we're gonna run a wire all the way through here into the front of the cabin. And that's the wire that actually attaches to the camera on this connector. And this is the one that feeds the signal to the head unit. So here's the wire that I'm talking about. If you want, what you could do is go ahead and run it to the head unit first, and then run it to the back of the car. The car that we are working on is an E46, obviously, and it's a coupe. So I went ahead and removed this trim piece. To remove it, there's just a bunch of these tabs. So ideally what you want to do is remove the first tab in the back, pull that straight out. That's the easiest to pull out. Once you have that out, then you just slide them out slowly. So when you slide it out, it'll get off of these, and you should be able to pull it right off. And then when you're reinstalling it, you just want to take all these tabs off of the chassis, put them back on here, and then just push it in. And the way that we're going to be routing the wire is we're going to run it right around this frame rail, run it all the way down underneath the carpet with all the other wires down there. So run it all the way down, bring it up to the top. I went ahead and removed the glove box as well. It's held in with 6 Phillips screws. One on the top, another one on the top, another one on the top, one on the side right here, one on that side, and one on the bottom right here. So once you have all those screws removed, this trim removed, you can start running the wire, get it up through here. Get it through this section, So run the wire through there. All of this will just sit on top of the glove box housing or behind it. Like zip tie it or do whatever you want back there. That way the wire doesn't move around too much. I'm tucking the wire underneath the carpet. We're gonna lift the seat up and just run the wire underneath the seat. Ideally what you would wanna do is remove this door panel, remove the seats, keep it going underneath the carpet, and then get it all the way to the back. But they already have a wire ran for the amp, so we're just gonna follow that wire. They just ran it underneath the seat, and that's the same way we're gonna do it. We're gonna remove this carpet to make it a little bit easier. To do that, release this fuel release by pulling this tab straight up and out. So it just detaches from right there, pull it straight off of that. There's also a pin up here. It's gonna look like this. Turn it and it'll pull straight out. So to pull the seat up, just lift it straight up. There's a tab, it'll just pop right out of the tab. Do it for both sides. You should have enough space to slide your wire through. So I'm running the wire behind the door panel so it's hidden underneath the carpet. Once you have it underneath the carpet, you should be able to get it all the way through to underneath the seat. So I'm going to run it underneath this little side pillar for the seat. So it's still going to be underneath the seat. There's a red positive battery wire that's coming through. It's really thick. It's the same size as the terminal that's on your battery. I'm just going to run it along that cable and pull it all the way through. So you want to pass that wire through that grommet. There are a few openings right above that positive wire, the red wire. So you can use a flathead or some kind of blade to just put a little cut through it and then push the wire through. Keep following this red terminal wire all the way up. Get all the way up through here. And then you can see there's a grommet right here. So you want to push that wire through here. If you need to, you can pull this grommet out with the flathead. Pull that grommet off. Pull this grommet off right here. Pull this grommet off right here. And once you have all those grommets pulled off, you can pull this whole wiring harness through a little bit more. When you have it pulled in through, then you can use the long zip tie or some kind of metal coat hanger or even anything plastic. Tape the wire to it and then pull it all the way through the rubber. Pull it all the way through the rubber boot like I did. Then once you have it up through here, you're gonna use that same zip tie, whatever hanger that you use, and get it all the way up through the trunk. That'll be the moment of truth. All this work. So it's nighttime now, obviously, but the car's all buttoned back up. The radio we have here is the eonon GA7150A, but the process is the same for almost all of the Android units. The same for the wiring in the back. As you guys saw, I tapped it into the reverse lights, and then I ran the wire all the way on the side of the car, underneath the carpet, all the way up to the passenger side, above the glove box, and to the back of the radio. Now I plugged it in. There, if you have a unit like this, you should already have a plug dedicated to the reverse light. So just go ahead and plug it into there. If you put it in reverse, like how I'm doing right here, and it doesn't trigger it automatically, there's also a wire that's on that same harness called the reverse trigger wire. So it's right next to the RCA cable. So you have to wire that into the reverse tap. Another issue that you might have if your reverse is not working when you put it in reverse is there should be two wires from the harness for the radio that have to be connected together. If you don't know what wire that is, just check your radio's harness and it will say reverse connection or something like that. So make sure those two are plugged in. Make sure the trigger needs to be plugged in if yours doesn't trigger automatically. But all this works. As soon as you put it in reverse, it should detect and it will pull up the camera. And once you put it in park, it'll turn it back off. So that's it for this DIY. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or message me on Instagram at ShopLifeTV. Thanks for watching.